Hi, this is Stephen Bourne from the Rye Civic League. Hopefully you read the whole Civic news, because you see we've got a new format. A lot of that is because we found that most of you are reading it on the phone. So a huge amount of effort to reformat it so it looks better on the phone. But what happened last month? So the select board, Mike Kutu, had bought a house in Greenland, had said earlier he's not moving to Greenland. No, he is moving to Greenland. So October 14th will be his last day. If you want to be on the select board to take the remainder of his term, contact the select board. It also means come March, there's going to be 4 open select board seats. On the 25th, we had our first informational session on what does it take to be a select board member. We'll do something in October and November. So it's going to be 4 open select board seats. It's time to step up. All right, so I just talked about that. We should have an abridged version of from the New Hampshire Municipal Association that was attached. If you can't tell, we still have a drought. So you still have the Rye water restrictions, aquarium restrictions, and there's a state ban on open fires. So none of that. On October 14th, the Rye Harbor report from the PDA is going to be there. You can on Zoom. That meeting's at 5:30. None of the select board can be there because their regular meetings can be at that time. Also, the select board had people from the state at the last select board meeting. They really want to try to put parking meters on Ocean Boulevard. We've been down the studies actually from the work before. The big issues was the safety, and if you know all the lines and the things that have been done, the town took care. The other big discussion was making more places available for people to park. That's not been done. The paying for parking was just something else, but they're pushing that forward. Let's see what else. The school board presented to the budget committee an update. So there's links. They actually did a fabulous job around evaluating enrollment and what's happening with those numbers. Very informative report on the 2 buildings and what it's costing to maintain and what's going on. And then they did give us 5 years of historical costs, but it's budgets. We actually want actuals, but that was good. And the school is actually returning $450,000 to the unassigned account balance. It's supposed to be used to pay down taxes, but the select board has been using it for other things over the years. Let's see what else. The Rye Water Department, the Rye Water District, the water treatment plant. So I went to the presentation. How to do it, what's the best method? It's not straightforward. They want to do some more tests, but they're trying to figure out what is the best approach for that. So that's there. The Conservation Committee has hired a consultant, and they're doing a whole bunch of site walks to do assessment of the trails. So that's been going on. You got to see the agenda. I haven't talked to anyone that's been on those. And the select board created a new investment policy. It's really, we have all this short-term cash, trying to better use that. To me, the real question is, why do we have so much cash with all these different funds and blah, blah, blah. All right, so those are the top things. The new format, give us your feedback. It's not going to be perfect. We got some more work to do. And now Alex Hurley, he's going to tell you, why do our streets named like they are? What did they used to be on some of them? What happened? So here's Alex.
Good morning, everyone. For our history segment this month for October, I thought we would talk a bit about the origin of some of the names of Rye roads. I made reference to it last month when we were talking about the fields of Rye. Well, you have to drive on the roads of Rye to see the beautiful fields. So we are standing on Big Rock Road, and we hope to find a picture of it to include in this film. So this was a large glacial erratic, a big boulder, and it sat on Big Rock Road behind me, right about where Gray Court goes to the left down to the boulevard. And it was on the right. And at some point last century, in order to straighten out the road, because you had a lot more building going on here in Venice Beach District, a lot more density, so they destroyed the big rock. But fortunately, the name remains. Okay, that's one story. Now here's another cool name of a Rye road, which has an interesting history. It's called Long John Road. So Long John Marden was a tall, lean man who had cattle. And he lived in a beautiful Cape-style house from the early 1700s that you can see on Washington Road on the left, a couple of houses before you get to Long John Road. he would drive his cattle down this path onto what is now Sagamore Road and into Portsmouth, and do his business with exchanging the cattle for goods or money, who knows. Anyway, so Long John Road had that name for the longest time. Then somebody got the crazy idea. I said, why did you do this? They changed it and made it an extension of Sagamore Road. So it's Sagamore Road going all the way to Washington Road. Well, people were up in arms about that, and they fixed it, and they made it go back to Long John Road. Good thing. All right, we mentioned Sagamore, which of course is the anglicized word for, Indian chief, a Sagamore, a sachem, a leader of an Indian tribal group. Another really interesting name, which I always include on the Rye History Trolley Tour when I used to do it, is Love Lane. We have many photographs. You can see them on the Rye Historical Society website. And the old postcards, you can see them in Lou Carabatz's book, 2004, an Acadia book like this, except it's a light. And it's all the historic postcards of Rye. And in it, there's a big sign there with 2 elm trees, and it says Lover's Lane. Who changed it? Why did they change it back to Love Lane? What's wrong with lovers? How did we all get here? Oh my. Anyway, the reason that was Lover's Lane is because for the longest time, there were no houses on that road. So it's a good place to go in the evening and have a romantic tryst. All right, so thinking about other roads in Rye, we certainly know there are several of them that are named after founding families, and I don't have to go through those. Central is obvious, it's central. And the boulevard, of course, is a wonderful word, French word, the boulevard, and there it is. Instead of just calling it Ocean Highway, I think they were really wise to use that term, boulevard. And then another road in Rye, and I remember growing up, I used to call it Lafayette Highway. Now it's in the, it's also referred to Lafayette Road, but it is a highway. I mean, it's broad, so it deserves that designation. But that didn't change. That used to be called Long Lane, and it was not the main north-south route until more of the 1800s. And then when Lafayette came back for his triumphal revisitation in 1824-25, and he came here to Portsmouth, that's when it was renamed Lafayette Road. And of course, finally, we have to talk about George. George came to drink at the Garland Tavern, invited by some of his officers from the Revolution from Rye in 1789 when he visited Portsmouth, and they brought him out to the tavern and he had a couple of drinks. And it's right in the ledger, and after he left, Sandy Beach Road became Washington Road. All right, that's a little background on the history of Rye roads. Thank you.